Hello, today for review I've got a few earphones and headphones cables made by a new company that recently entered the market but already offers few interesting options. Their name is RUAUDIO and as you can probably expect, they are from Russia. They have a wide range of different cables and I've tried three their offers, one of mid segment and two of the high-end segment. I will talk about them one by one, we will discuss them now. But before we proceed to the review itself, a few preliminary words. So first is keep in mind that they offers huge flexibility. You can get these cables with different connectors on both on the earphones and headphones and on the second end you can get Pentacon 3.5mm XLR and so on and so forth. And of course you can get different designs, you can discuss some custom options, so definitely they can definitely satisfy any tastes. They have a few predefined models that they recommend, but I think all aspects can be discussed. And second topic, there are a lot of people who are skeptical about the earphones cables, but from my perspective, from my experience, earphones and headphones cables make a difference. It's not big usually, sometimes it's close to zero, but anyway, in many blind tests I convinced myself, and actually I've conducted blind tests with different friends, so my experience tells that there is a difference in the sound of earphones and headphones. But of course there couldn't be a huge difference like night and day or something like that. And also my point is that same cable can have different impact on different earphones. Like I don't believe in common typical myths like copper makes sound more fat, silver improves treble or something like that. Of course in many cases it can be true, but I had experience when the results was opposite or totally different. So let's go to the first cable, and its name is Red Cuprum or Red Q. As you can understand, it's made of high purity oxygen cryo copper. If I remember right, purity is 6N. Its average price is about $70 plus minus. As you can see, currently their package is pretty simple. They're using a common bag, but they told me that they are working on a bit more fancy packaging. Not like a killer feature, but good presentation of goods is always a plus. So I've got version with Pentacon. Currently Pentacon is one of the most universal solutions on the market. They have really big velcro stripe for cable organization. So I will wind it to make it more comfortable. So here it is, Pentacon connector, PS audio. They have big choice of different connectors, so you can change whatever you like. Interesting wiring, you can see inside of some isolation, twisted wires going separately, and they twisted like helixes inside of the cables, and two cables itself also twisted as a helix. So I wanted to say double helix, but of course double helix is a different company. Interesting touch, you can see they have a splitter with the company's logo on it, and the top part have fabric isolation. I'm not a big fan of such solution, I'm not a big fan of fabric in the earphones cables, but some people prefer it this way. I think it can be discussed if you like it or not. And here are ear hooks, pretty good and without memory wire, but reducing microphonic effect almost to zero. Cables themselves are pretty soft, of course left one should be done in not in green but in blue, but from other point of view, red and green is a good combination. MMCX connectors. So let's have some earphones as an example. Let's connect them. Nice clicks. Here they are, few FH5S, and cable is slightly softer than average, but this fabric isolation reduces microphonic effect. It's almost not getting hard when it's cold outside, and in terms of usability, just a really good cable that looks pretty well. But of course the most important thing is the sound. So I did try all cables with affordable earphones, and affordable earphones for me was TRN VX. Like, they are multi-driver, so they are pretty responsive to the cable changing, and with TRN VX this cable making sound bit more dynamic and actually reducing treble a little bit, not highlighting bass like it's expected from the copper, but just reducing treble a little bit, actually not reducing but making it less aggressive and forward, and actually making it sound more natural. And with FH5S effect was probably the same. You know, FH5S really benefits from cables that reducing treble a little bit, and actually that's the only impact of this cable on on these earphones. It's reducing treble a little bit, making them more even and actually more natural. And I did try them with Campfire Audio Andromeda, Ara and Solaris, like reference models, and the impact was the same. Actually, they also made treble a bit softer, and they made mids more forward, a little bit pushed mids forward, and made bass a bit more tight. So not more weighty, but more tight. So not a huge difference for the high-end earphones, but it's the mid-segment cable, so it's probably targeted by the company towards the more affordable segment. About the high-end we will talk a bit later, they have cable for that too. Next one is their flagship in-ear monitors cable named Moonlight. It's a hybrid cable. It's made of 7N purity Creo copper strands made by Neotech, and also of pure silver leads, so hybrid model with interesting combination of wires and same package. Maybe it will be fancier in future, but actually I don't see much sense. You can select whatever connectors you want, you can select length, base length is 1.2 meters, price is $170, not super affordable, but actually in such cables price of materials is pretty high. Also they packed all connectors into this zip locks. Here it is. Also pretty big stripe of velcro for organization here. Also Pentacon connector, pretty universal, and it's more typical in terms of braiding. You can see the difference between silver and copper cables. Nice, really accurate braiding, looks pretty attractive. Pleasant to touch, actually kind of regular audiophilia cables we all used to. And I like how their custom splitter fitting the design of this cable itself. It's brighter, looks more fancy. Here is the chin slider, and here it goes just twisted in helixes to each earpiece. Ear hooks here is almost invisible. They are present, but they are really soft. But cable itself is really soft, so microphonic effect won't be an issue for it. Of course, it's almost not getting hard when it's cold outside, so in terms of ergonomics, it's a really nice cable. Also, MMCX connectors, so right and left. And for this cable, I dig my bookshelf and I found unusual but really good model. It's Campfire Audio Limited Andromeda Gold. Unusual crossoverless model with 7 drivers, if I remember actually right. Regular Andromeda had 5, has 5, and these ones are 7 drivers. Here they are, actually really matching the design of this model. I like this combination. And in terms of sound, I also tried them with affordable models, and it was also TRN VX and KZ ZAX. For both of these models, cable made the sound more focused on the micro contrast and more detailed, improving a bit staging and giving sound a bit more three-dimensional and holographic feeling. But impact was not big, probably because, you know, this cable is more targeted towards the high-end segment, and with FH5S actually the impact is more noticeable. It also improves the mid resolution. Actually, it made the FH5S even more sharper on mids and more focused on the micro contrast. You'll get more details, but at the same time they became even more critical for the quality of records. Low frequencies stayed almost intact. It didn't change anything in lows. Maybe it made them a bit faster, but I'm not sure, because during the A/B tests I didn't get the confident results. And with the high-end models by Campfire Audio, including this Andromeda Gold, it makes 3D positioning even better. Actually, Andromedas and other earphones by Campfire Audio are pretty good in staging, but actually it improves it even further, and it makes depth layering a bit more natural, less separated but more natural, with a bit of infusion of depth layers, but actually that sound more realistic and more lifelike. Also, it improved the treble layering a little bit, especially it was noticeable for this Andromeda Gold. Once again, I must admit that it's not a huge night and day difference, but small nuances. But it's added a bit of layering and made sound a bit more airy and spacious. Actually, really good offer for the high-end segment. Maybe with different earphones result will be different, but here I've got better staging and a more mature treble. And the last, but definitely not least model, is their flagship full-size headphones model named Svarog, after an ancient Slavic god. It's pretty expensive cable. Its price is about $400, but I will show it to you now and you'll probably understand why it's that expensive. And let's just proceed to the unpacking. Here it is, and you know, it's surprising how many work was put into the creation of this cable. So let's remove that velcro completely. I want it. First one and second one. You know, creating such cables, it's always a trial and error path that requires some experiments, that requires some work. Maybe it's not always based on some scientific approaches. Sometimes it's more of intuition, but here they've implemented really unusual approach. So inner part of this cable, it's silver lit in the fabric isolation, and around this cable you can see it inside. And around this cable they've used additional braiding with copper leads and copper single core cable in the isolation. and you can see that it requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of copper wires, and here used also neon touch wires, really high-end, high purity 7N purity copper. So creation of this cable require some resources and work. Also I selected pentagon connectors. I selected for all three with pentagons, but of course you can get mini XLR or other different options. So this lower part is pretty thick, but at the same time it's soft and flexible and has almost zero microphonics. It's really, you know, it's really soft, unexpectedly soft for such thick cable. And I like that because commonly headphones cables comes in the rubber or in the fabric isolation, and they are noisy. It just moves few millimeters on your table and you hear it in your headphones. So it goes braided to that splitter. Here they used a bit different one, but also pretty fancy. And after the splitter it goes in the same design with silver lids inside and fabric isolation and braided around with that copper wires. And here is mini XLR. I selected this termination because I wanted to use it with Meze Empyrean, so my best headphones that I really like. I know that Empyrean is already outdated. Meze released Elite, and of course Empyrean now sucks and so on. But actually, of course, I'm kidding. I still like Empyrean, so no, this is right ear. And I've connected blue cable. It should be vice versa. Actually, on some forums I've seen fun feedback. Some people bought earpods from the Elite and used them with Empyrean and mentioned that for $70 or $100, I don't remember how much they cost, you getting a noticeable improvement, and earpods for the Elite is thinner. So anyway, let's go back to the sound description. Actually, I also have a pure silver cable for the Empyreans, and I like the combination of that cable. I have a cable made by Era in Ear for the Empyreans, and it improves staging and makes sound a bit more emotional and energetic. But with this cable, situation is a bit different. It also highlights macro dynamics for these headphones. It makes them a bit more forward and emotional, but also it makes lower part of bass slightly tighter and more noticeable, making the representation a bit more weighty. And actually I like that impact, and I like that it makes sound more impactful. Also it's making mids slightly better in terms of staging. You know, it's not making it bigger or smaller, wider, taller or something like that. It makes them a bit more realistic with better overall three-dimensional representation. I can't say what changes in terms of sound, but positioning sound a bit more realistic. Especially it's noticeable with classical heavy metal bands with two guitars, bass guitar and drums. They starting sounding like more traditional way. And it improves treble layering a little bit, but also it makes overtone saturation richer and timbre-rich instruments sounding more natural. And I'm a fan of Ukrainian instrument named bandura. It really interesting and rich sounding, and with this instrument, for example, you will notice a huge impact in terms of realism. So, short verdict here, this cable definitely improves sound even of the pretty high-end and expensive model. Difference isn't huge, but anyway, it's also noticeable, so it makes sense for me here. It's a good way to squish a bit of additional sound performance. So it was 3 cables by RUAUDIO, Red Q, Moonlight and Svarog. All 3 of them are really interesting, both in terms of design and in terms of impact. And thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and have a nice day.